Cavaliers, happy Friday and welcome to another rendition of 5 Minutes with Ford. Today is March the 17th and I would like to wish those who celebrate a happy St. Patrick's Day. Joining me on the show today is Somerdale Park School All-Star and Reader Leader, Mrs. Burns.
Nice to see you, Mr. Ford. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Burns. I appreciate you coming on the show with me, especially on short notice. We'll explain why you're on the show in a little bit, but before we get to you, Mrs. Burns, if you could hold tight while we go over a few housekeeping items.
Absolutely.
Okay, we had, and you're probably fully aware of this, a few leprechauns break into the park overnight and wreak absolute havoc in the C Wing. They knocked over desks and littered the rooms green. In fact, Mrs. Bachman, you know Mrs. Bachman?
I did see Mrs. Bachman today.
First grade.
Yes, first grade. It was very scary. I was wondering what happened.
Yeah, well, apparently she got tied up in a chair and had a run-in with a few members of this leprechaun gang. Thankfully, Mrs. Moffat was around, and Mrs. Moffat's first grade crew were able to free her up.
They're a wonderful group.
They really are. Further down on the C Wing, a green drink was left behind, and Miss Priolo unknowingly took a sip of it, and it turned both of her feet green.
Oh my goodness, that's awful.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I do not know her most current status, but we will follow up with her. That would be most appreciated and very collegial of you. Some of our classrooms tried to play defense by constructing some traps in an attempt to catch these sneaky little guys, but we had no such luck. Maybe next year. Over the weekend, we have a 7th grader, Desi Mullen. Desi competed at the 2023 Youth State Wrestling Championships and competed for a state title. He ended up coming in an impressive 3rd place. So a spot on the podium for Des. Big shout out to you, Des. Proud of you. This is definitely the result of hard work and effort and coaching, and I know Des has a strong support system at home. At the time of our last airing last week, our student pickleball champions had yet to be determined. We now know who they are. Wait for it. In fact, Mrs. Burns, could you give me a little drum roll?
Oh, I'd love to give you a drum roll.
Okay. The champions are Amir Atkins and Jaden Canlis Mercado. Amir and Jaden were able to escape a close one against Brady Green.
Oh.
See what I did there?
Yes,
Green.
for St.
Okay.
Patrick's Day, I saw it.
And Wesley Reich, who fell just short of the title.
Oh, such competition, I see.
Yes, it's very, very much so, and a lot of participation. Awesome job by those, to all those who participated. Thank you to Mr. Travarelli and Ms. Cordovari for coordinating this event. It's beginning to turn into an annual tradition.
I can see that, yes,
which is pretty cool. This week, our PTA had their spring book fair for students set up in the school's library. They also hosted a successful parent night on Wednesday, March the 15th. Some of our students were able to bring their families back to the school to look for some new reading material.
Oh, I love those books.
I know, as a reading teacher, this
makes me
must
so
excite
happy.
you, yes.
It makes me so happy to see children with books.
Yes, it does. PTA would like to thank parents, teachers, and all volunteers for an excellent book fair again this year. And Somerdale Park School would like to thank the PTA for coordinating and offering this event to our students and parents. A special shout out to our own Officer Jim and his wife for their monetary donations and to support students with donations of books to the library. The next PTA meeting is Wednesday, March the 22nd at 7 p.m. in the Somerdale Park School cafeteria. The PTA will also be hosting a candy bar bingo on Wednesday, March the 29th, same time, same place, that's 7 p.m. in the Somerdale Park School cafeteria. Looking ahead to next week, students will enjoy a fun assembly from the Illusion Maker.
Oh, that sounds so exciting.
Yes, it does. They will be presenting the Which Is It, which is a magical environmental quiz show. Commander Humphreys and Sterling's ROTC students will be visiting our 8th graders. This was originally scheduled to take place this week, Mrs. Burns, but the commander requested a reschedule, which of course we accommodated. Students will be introduced to the program, some of the warm-ups and activities, and be able to hear all of the great opportunities that the ROTC program has to offer at the high school level. Commander Humphreys does this annually and really does a phenomenal job with it. In fact, many of our former Cavaliers are now part of the program over at the castle, and it's fun to see them return with the level of self-confidence that program instills in young people. So thank you again to Mr. Humphreys for reaching out to us and for working with us at the park to make this program happen. Also, next week, our Summerdale Drama Club, run by Mrs. Reeder and Mrs. Durand, will be debuting the play The Ever After. This is a play that features Disney characters that persevere through some social conflict and ultimately become friends.
The drama club does such a wonderful job every year.
They really do.
Wonderful.
They got some good teacher leaders and a lot
that's wonderful.
of energy.
Wonderful.
This play will showcase students in grades 5 through 8 under the lights on the big stage in the cafeteria. The date is Thursday, March the 23rd. Doors for actors and parents will open at 6:30 p.m. and the play will kick off sharply at 7 p.m. This is a free event and definitely a show that you do not want to miss. So please consider coming out to support Mrs. Reeder, Mrs. Durand, and our Drama Club Cavs. Well, I think everybody's wondering, Mrs. Burns, why you are here joining me. They probably picked up on your accent by now, as you were able to play along and bounce off of me. But the reason we bring Mrs. Burns on the show this week is because despite having a very Irish name in Nancy Burns,
Correct.
you do not have a drop of Irish in you.
I do not have any Irish blood in me at all. None at all. And every year on St. Patrick's Day, I wake up and I have this voice, and I wonder, where does it come from?
Yeah,
I lost my.
Don't lose that. We want to make sure that the audience
I'm sure that you can hear
is
me. I
able
don't
to.
want lose it. Anyway, but I wake up every St. Patrick's Day, and my voice is like this, and I always wonder why it happens. But people tell me it could be a leprechaun. People tell me it could be just some kind of Irish thing that comes to me, but it usually goes away the day after. People tell me to drink tea or to have some. On my way home from work, I listen to bagpipes. They tell me that
Oh,
a little bit.
that's a nice soothing
It's
strategy.
very soothing. Or I just the tea works a lot, and then usually by the next day my voice is back to normal. But this day it's just, and then sometimes I go watch some Celtic dancing.
Ooh.
Just try to jump right into the spirit, even though I'm not Irish at all. I try to jump into the spirit with it a little bit.
You just go with it.
I do.
Yeah,
do
just go with the
every
flow.
day.
I mean, why
try,
resist?
I try to make it work every year.
Yeah,
But I don't worry about it too much, because usually the next day it's better.
That
Much
seems to be
better.
the pattern.
It seems to be the pattern year after year. Some of my students have seen it year after year, and they know that it gets better.
I recall it from years past.
I
It's
know.
since I'm not the one experiencing it, it is something that I do enjoy and look forward to
And it's nothing
on St.
frightening. It's just something that happens, and I say to myself, well, it happens, and we'll just move forward.
Yeah.
It's okay. Someone told me to try Irish potatoes. I've never had
Ah.
those, but I've heard they're very good.
Okay.
So I might have to try that.
Do you know of anyone else who has experienced such an annual?
No, I actually Googled it to see if it's something. Someone told me that if people in Ireland, like that they've come here and maybe they meet someone and then it happens to them. I really don't know the story.
So it's potentially contagious.
Oh, I don't know. I could be. I don't know. You'll have to tell me if you start speaking like this tomorrow.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know, but
Okay.
we'll see. I
So,
don't think so.
anything else for our viewers?
No, just I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend and enjoy the weekend. And we're going to have some nice weather and some cold weather. And I'm glad to hear that everyone's watching. This 5 Minutes with Ford is wonderful. It's so informative.
Thank you. I appreciate that
Gives us
feedback.
a lot of information about what's going on at the school.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Cool. So, you're gonna drink some tea when you get home.
Definitely.
Is this
hot tea.
green tea?
The green tea, the
yeah.
hot green tea, definitely makes me feel better. And usually that does the trick and makes me feel better. And then the next day, I'm back to myself, Mr. Ford.
All right. So, anybody else out there who might be experiencing this rare I don't even know what to call it.
I don't know.
The
It's an experience.
rare experience. Go with some green tea,
Yes.
some bagpipe music.
Beautiful.
Pandora could probably offer a
Yeah,
nice.
something like that. You can
Okay.
find it on YouTube. something like that, yeah.
You would have. Are there any kilts involved?
Oh, I don't know. I've never tried that, but that could be something that tries. Or if anyone has any recommendations, they could let me know. I'd be glad to listen.
Okay, and then some. You said Irish
I'm gonna
potatoes.
try those today.
Okay.
I'm gonna try that. Someone else said a shamrock shake.
Oh,
I thought that was a
oh,
great thing to try.
there you go. I would definitely try that
I'm
on your
gonna
way
try
home.
that on my way home.
All right, so we got to get moving because our producers are
understand.
telling us we're cracking the 10-minute
oh,
mark.
no, I'm
so
so sorry.
we may have broken a record. I don't know. I
Oh,
think Mrs.
sorry,
Gorman and I were 11, so
We don't want to do
we
that.
don't want to get any
No.
comments about our length.
Length,
So let's
no,
let's
Mrs.
begin to sign off.
Yes.
After we sign off, if you don't mind swinging by C-Room just to check up on Mrs.
I will. I'll check on
Miss
Mrs.
Priolo
definitely,
and her
make
feet.
Sure she's okay. Yes, definitely.
So let's go ahead with the sign off because it's been long enough. I need to get home, check up on my corned beef and cabbage.
Oh, that's another thing I could try.
You could try that. I like the sour cream sauce with a little lemon, a little pepper, Worcestershire sauce. I share my recipe with you.
Thank you. I'd love to.
I hope everyone has a relaxing weekend and a rejuvenating weekend with family and friends. Maybe a little March Madness.
Maybe. Oh,
How about the upsets yesterday?
basketball.
Zona went down to the local team, Princeton.
I love it.
Also,
I saw that
Virginia was
game.
knocked
That's
off.
wonderful,
So the
wonderful.
madness has begun. Thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing you next week, Mrs. Burns. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you for having
I'm going to
me.
lay this one up for you.
Absolutely.
And as always,
Go Cavs.
go Cavs.